I'd like to call to order this September 5th, 2023 Board of Supervisors meetings. If everyone could please join me in standing for the Pledge of Allegiance. Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you. Ms. Hannah, will you please call roll?
Ms. Payne?
Here.
Ms. Corporal?
Here.
Ms. Kane?
Here.
Mr. Kizak?
Here.
Also in attendance, Township Manager, Ms. Teely Cools, Township Solicitor, Mr. Esposito, Assistant Township Manager, Ms. Davala, Township Engineer, Mr. Kessler, Chief of Police, Joseph Barbarilla, Director of Building and Zoning, Jim Ennis, Director of Parks and Recreation, Paul Capera, Director of Finance, Megan Bondry, Superintendent of Public Works, Eric Gartenmeyer.
Thank you. Just so everyone knows, our next Board of Supervisors meeting is scheduled for Tuesday again, September 19th, 2023, right here in the Public Hall at 7 p.m. And an upcoming event we're going to talk a little bit about is Parkland Community Day, which is Saturday, September 30th, 12 p.m. to 4 p.m. at Firefighters Park. With that, I will go to public comment. So if there's any public comment, please stay and go to the podium, say your name and address for the record. Seeing none, I'll move on to the consent agenda. At this time, I will accept a motion for approval of the consent agenda item as stated.
Motion to approve the consent agenda items.
Is there a second?
Second.
It's been a motion and a second. Are there any board questions? Any questions from the public? Seeing none, all those in favor, please say aye.
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 Opposed? Motion carries 5-0. Next up is consideration of authorizing the purchase of a police department dash and body cameras. Chief Barbarilla.
Good evening, Ms. Payne, fellow board members. The police department currently utilizes only in-car video. Our current system is almost 9 years old and well beyond its usable life. In fact, what we are doing now, we use the WatchGuard system. Most departments around us that use it have scrapped it years ago. So what we do when our cameras break is we go to other departments that have them, and we get them from there. We've very grateful to Middletown Township for hooking us up with about 8 cameras over the last couple of weeks. So the current in-camera system is well beyond its usable life. Our department applied for and received a partial grant from the Pennsylvania Commission on Crime and Delinquency, PCCD, to help fund new in-car and body-worn camera systems. This purchase will allow the police department to update its in-car video system with brand new cameras. It will also allow the police department to implement a body-worn camera system for all of its sworn personnel. We evaluated several different camera systems and decided on Lens Lock and Cradle Point as the preferred system. Lens Lock is a high-quality camera system. Was also the lowest price system that we evaluated. LensLock also has the most responsive customer service of any of the vendors that we evaluated, so that's good because they're also the lowest cost by far. LensLock is a full cloud-based system, so we'll be finished with servers for our camera storage. It doesn't require a separate township computer server. The Cradle Point in-car router system will upfit each police vehicle, enhancing video uploading capabilities and overall 5G reception for officers in vehicle technology. So LensLock and Cradle Point systems are fully warranted and guaranteed for 5 full years. There's no recurring cost aside from the cost of the equipment. We originally were proposing to purchase this all at once. That would have been a one-time purchase. There would have been no annual recurring cost, but my understanding is now we're going to take the payment plan. It doesn't change the payment. It's just spread out over 5 equal payments. So other than the recurring equipment cost, there is no recurring annual fees associated with the equipment. So PCCD provided grant funding of $126,738 for the in-car cameras, $42,194 for the body cameras, and $29,466 for personnel costs to staff a new hire. It's going to be a part-time, non-sworn position to manage the video and camera system. The Cradle Point, which is separate from the lens lock cameras, that technology has to be paid for up front in the amount of $120,335.60. So the full camera system, minus the Cradle Points, so for the in-car and body-worn cameras, they're going to need to be paid in equal installments of $104,044 over 5 years until 2027. So that'll be a total of $520,222.50. To put it in perspective, the Axon system was a little over $800,000, and the Motorola system was about $635,000. LensLock came in at $520,000. So the initial first year, the $104,044 camera expenditure will be covered in full through the PCCD grant. That's for year one, and that includes the part-time employee as well. The 2024 camera expenditure will be covered about 60% by the PCCD grant, so about $64,000 of the $104,000. And then 2025, 2026, and 2027 will have to be funded by the township through the capital fund, and that is how the payments break down for the camera system. If there's any questions, I will be happy to answer them.
Just to make sure I understand it, so
Yes.
in 2023, so the Cradle Point router is a one-time upfront cost. That's $120,000. We pay that once in 2023, and then that's done, correct?
Correct, Mr. Kizak, and that's not funded through the grant.
Right, and then it's 104 over 5 years until 2027. And is there, in addition to the grants from PCCD and who was the other grant from? Are they both grants from PCCD?
Yeah, so both grants are PCCD.
Okay.
So the way they're broken down, it's $126,738 for the in-car cameras, $71,660 for the body cameras. The total grant funding for the project is $196,398.
Is there any, I don't know if you know, opportunity for further grant funding in the future? Are there other grants that we can apply for?
We can apply, and we'll certainly look, and we'll try. It sometimes is difficult once you actually sign the contract to purchase the system. If you have a pre-existing system, it's less likely, but we're always looking for ways to fund, anything that we do.
Okay, thank you.
For anyone listening at home, can you just tell folks what PCCD is?
Right. That is the Pennsylvania Commission on Crime and Delinquency. That's what it stands for.
Thank you.
And how long would we expect this camera and this whole system to last?
Good question. So what LensLock does, as far as the body cameras go, Ms. Corporal, is after 2.5 years, there's no cost, each officer gets a brand-new body camera. So we'll get our first set of cameras for each officer, then 2.5 years later, each officer will get a brand-new body camera. In-car video, no, because they're a little more expensive and they're more difficult to pull out and reinstall. Based on our current system, WatchGuard, which I want to thank WatchGuard because it was outstanding. It's been outstanding for us for 9 years, and I want to thank our township manager for helping us get the system back in 2015. We got an amazing life out of our WatchGuard system. So I would assume if it follows suit, you're looking at about 8 years before we would have to explore, new technology. Plus, technology is ever evolving anyway, so things change so much over the years. Any other questions?
If there are no other questions, I'll accept a motion.
I move to authorize the following: one, purchase of in-car and body-worn camera systems from LensLock of Tampa, Florida, in the amount of $520,225.50 to be paid over 5 years. 2, the purchase of Cradle Point in-car routers from PMC Associates of Hazlet, New Jersey, in the amount of $120,335.60. And 3, the authorization to hire a part-time employee to manage video evidence.
It's been a motion. Is there a second?
Second.
It's been a motion and a second. Are there any board questions?
No question, just a quick comment. I just wanted to say thank you, Chief, for moving forward with this initiative and for all your efforts to find and receive grant funding. You and your department always do a tremendous job with that. I just think this is a really important thing. Obviously, our in-car cameras have exceeded their useful life, and moving forward, not only with new in-car cameras, but body-worn cameras, I think is an important step forward for the department. So I appreciate your efforts with all of this, and I look forward to moving forward with this.
Any questions from the public? Seeing none, all those in favor, please say aye.
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 Opposed? Ayes carry 5-0. Thank you, Chief.
Thank you, Ms. Payne.
Next is consideration of authorizing the purchase of a 2023 Chevy Bolt EUV. Mr. Ennis?
Good evening, Supervisors. So the only capital budget item that was approved for the Building and Zoning Department was for a new vehicle. It was to replace a 20-year-old vehicle, something that we jokingly say achieved classic status. It was a 2003 Crown Vic. With that, what's proposed tonight is a electric vehicle, a 2023 Chevrolet Bolt. It will actually be the first electrical vehicle added to the township's fleet. It will use the level 2 charging station in front of the municipal building. The capital budget that was approved was for $40,000 for this vehicle. It's actually going to be a cost of $27,700. It's going to be offset with a grant through the Pennsylvania Department of Environmental Protection, which is specifically the Alternative Fuels Incentive Grants Program. They awarded a grant of $7,500. So in total, the net cost for the vehicle will be $20,200, which is close to half of what was originally approved for the capital budget. So if the board concurs, the motion would be to authorize the purchase of a 2023 Chevrolet Bolt EUV from Whitmore Auto Group of Mount Joy, Pennsylvania, in the amount not to exceed $27,700.
Thank you, Mr. Ennis. Are there any questions?
Always good to hear that we're going to be paying significantly less than what we budgeted, and thank you for your efforts to apply for and receive grant funding.
You can also thank Nick Vala. He definitely pursued the grant for that.
Thank you, Mr. Vala.
Seeing no other questions, I'll accept a motion.
I move to authorize the purchase of a 2023 Chevrolet Bolt EUV from Whitmore Auto Group of Mount Joy, Pennsylvania, in the amount not to exceed $27,700.
Is there a second?
Second.
It's been a motion and a second. Are there any board questions? Any questions from the public? Seeing none, all those in favor, please say aye. Aye. Opposed? Ayes carry 5-0. Thank you, Mr. Ennis.
Thank you.
Consideration of enacting ordinance 23-02 to limit commercial vehicle parking and increase fines for parking violations. Chief?
Good evening once again. So I know we discussed this a couple of meetings ago in great length, and we advertised the ordinance. So this basically, once you vote on this tonight, you would be voting on us enacting an ordinance prohibiting the parking of commercial vehicles in residential areas of the township from 6 p.m. to 6 a.m. Any violations would be a $50 fine. We're also going to increase our standard parking violations from $15 to $25, with the exception of the snow tickets, which are going to go from $25 to $50. So we'll have two $50 parking fines, the commercial vehicle and the snow tickets, and then every other parking fine will go from $15 to $25. If there's any questions, be happy to answer them.
Are there any questions? Seeing no questions, I'll accept a motion.
I move to enact ordinance number 23-02, prohibiting parking of any vehicle used for a commercial purpose on streets outside of manufacturing zoning districts between the hours of 6 p.m. and 6 a.m., with a fine of $50 for violations, increase the fine for general parking violations from $15 to $25, and increase the fine for snow and ice emergency parking violations from $25 to $50.
It's been a motion. Is there a second?
I'll second.
It's been a motion and a second. Are there any board questions? Any questions from the public? Seeing none, all those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Ayes carry, 5-0. Thank you,
Thank you,
Chief.
Ms. Payne.
Next, we have consideration of awarding the 2023-2024 Bucks County Consortium Salt Bid. Mr. Gartenmeyer.
Good evening. Good evening. Once again, it's that time of year. We put out a bid with the consortium for our salt every year. And once again, this year, the prices came in and a different vendor than Morton Salt got it this year. So Riverside is the new supplier for our salt. It's been Morton Salt for years. They were 43 cents cheaper per ton, so they got the contract. So I'm asking you to award the bid to Riverside this year so we can order salt for the upcoming season.
Are there any questions? I just hope we don't have to use it. So, just saying.
We always hope that.
It's hard to imagine right now. It's pretty hot out.
Yeah.
Seeing no questions, I'll accept a motion.
I make a motion to award the 2023-2024 consortium bid to Rock Salt to Morton Salt, Inc., Chicago, Illinois, at the rate of $66 per ton.
Is that correct? No, I think that's...
Now,
What changed?
it's Riverside.
Oh, it's Riverside. Oh, to 43 cents, or just $66, right?
Yes.
Okay. Let me go back. Sorry.
It's actually Sylvia Concrete, which is Riverside.
Okay. It's this motion. I make a motion to award the 2023-2024 consortium bid for rock salt to Riverside Salt, Inc. Is it Chicago still? I don't have that. Okay. At the rate of $66 per ton.
It's been a motion. Is there a second?
Second.
Been a motion and a second. Are there any board questions? Any questions from the public? Seeing none, all those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? Ayes carry, 5-0. Thank you, Mr. Gartenmeyer.
Thank you.
So next, we actually have a discussion about Bucks County Regional Development Authority, RDA grants. Ms. Teoli-Cools.
Good evening. The 2023-2024 RDA grant round is open. There will be 5 grant applications which will be presented for your consideration at our next meeting. As is typical, we have grants that we are recommending that we submit for police vehicles and public works vehicles. In addition to that, we are asking for a license plate reader for the police department and a fire and emergency service vehicle. And finally, Parkland Fire Company is requesting 4 thermal imaging cameras. So typically what we do is we just announce what the grants are at this meeting to provide for time for public input. At your next meeting, you'll authorize resolutions for the application, and then we will submit them to the RDA. In addition to the grants that we submit, we also participate in a consortium for the Towns Against Graffiti grant, which is organized by Tracy Timby, and that's a $5,000 commitment for Middletown Township annually with several other municipalities. So you'll have all of that at your next meeting. If you have any questions, please let me know. I guess just the final note is the vehicles all go into our capital plan. We apply for the grants. We usually find out about the grants between when the budget is advertised and when the budget is approved. So you'll have time to authorize additional money if necessary.
For those who maybe don't know, can you just explain what the RDA is and where that money comes from?
Sure, it's the Bucks County Redevelopment Authority, and it is money that is generated from the Parks Casino. And so the legislation provides that a certain amount of revenue is provided to those adjacent municipalities that are impacted by the casino.
Thank you. Are there any other questions? You don't have to vote on it, so that's fine. Just thought I'd ask. So with that, actually, we are already on to other business. I'll start with Mr. Kessler.
Thank you, Ms. Payne. We do have some plans that require some signature, so I have that this evening. Other than that, nothing to add. Thank you.
Mr. Valla?
Nothing, thank you.
Mr. Esposito?
Along with Mr. Kessler, there's some agreements that go along with those plans, so we'll get some of the signatures from you after the meeting. Other than that, nothing else.
Ms. Teoli-Cools?
Nothing, thank you.
Supervisor Hannah?
Nothing, thank you.
Supervisor Kane?
Nothing.
Supervisor Corporal?
Nothing, thank you.
Supervisor Kizak?
Nothing.
I don't have anything either. So with that, I'd accept a motion to adjourn.
Motion to adjourn.
Is there a second?
I'll second.
We are adjourned.